Peace, family. My name is Aubrey Muhammad. I pray that everyone is well. I'd like to thank you for joining us for my Facebook Live update of my campaign for mayor of the village of Hempstead. Now, this is week 6, where we'll be covering ending violence in our communities. You know, first of all, also if you have any questions, please feel free to chime in on the subject, because it's mainly about us resolving our beefs. You know, we need restoration. You know, and the main component of our beefs are misunderstanding and miscommunication. You know, and the core of that is that the big pill is that we are in pain. You know, and that pain, the source of that pain is white supremacy in this nation, but it starts immediately. The first pain is right in our homes. Much of that pain that's misplaced is from sexual, physical, and worse than those, verbal abuse, mental abuse. That gets deep into us. You know, the mental, when we repress and keep a secret being violated, and that painful experience, that simmers in us, that builds up in us, you know, that goes deep down into us, that's ingrained in us. You know, and we walking around with that pain, it's very difficult to target it at a source. You know, what do we do? Law of nature says you take it out on those around you who are closest to you, who look like us. So mainly in the home, that vicious cycle, you know, and we're walking around with it. And how does it affect us? You know, we don't say anything, and then you compound that with the undercurrent of racism in this country. You know, you're walking around, you're being black in this country, or indigenous Latina, and there's an undercurrent against us. You know, you're walking around just trying to go through life, trying to be a citizen, trying to be a good person, even trying to be a human being. If you're spiritual, you've overcome a lot. But then there's that undercurrent of racism. Do you know we literally are in the community, and we observe things. We have expectations. We literally will be walking to do a transaction somewhere in the public at a business, and we will observe the person in front of us and see how they're treated. If they're a different nationality, race, we observe how they're treated. Then we observe how we're treated. And then we literally, before we leave that line, we'll turn around and see how the person behind us was treated and take notes. And we notice the undercurrent. So that's stressful. You have to be constantly on your mind. Not alone do you have to deal with life's problems, but you have a society who is very hypocritical, saying it's free, for liberty, justice for all. It's hypocritical. So we understand that. So that added stress on us. Then it's right in our homes. You know, we're expecting it to come from the outside, but it's from someone we trust that betrays us, someone who touches us the wrong way, someone we give personal, secret information to, our family members, our friends, and they betray us. They, you know, use that information against us. We feel betrayed. A lot of that adds up and comes to a boiling point, and then you layer that with weapons in this society, you have all of this violence. So we have to be the ones who, in that cycle, we have to bring it to light. These are discussions we need to be having. This need to be taught in school. You know, that we can't solve our problems with our hands. Also, let me, okay, I have people chiming in. Thank you for your comments. Many blessings. Yeah, that's right. Brother Ralph, David, Everett, my brothers, I see your comments. Many blessings. Yeah, thank you for your participation. Yes, because we the ones that got to do it. You know, we can't, traditionally we have solved our problems with our hands. And it gets more complicated the more individual we are. You know, single parent, forget it. It's like tough as hell. You literally have to walk around with a belt or some other tool in our hands to help discipline our children, because we don't have that extended family no more. You know? Because during slavery, that was traumatic to us. We still overcoming that legacy. Do you know the black belt, grabbing quick to grab a black belt? That comes right from the plantation, the whipping. You can't find straps in Africa, African civilization. We walking around with straps and stuff. A stick was used, but not a hand. Mainly, you know, as switches and stuff and discipline. But it was extended family eases the burden, because, you know, when we have extended family, you have an uncle, you have a cousin, or you have a even a neighbor, a good neighbor that we know that a child admires. Your children don't necessarily have to admire us. Our biological children, they can admire others in the community. But us in the community shouldn't covet that relationship. We shouldn't take that adoration and say, when the parents throw down on a child and chastise them, and then we come as a sympathetic shoulder. A lot of grandparents do that, you know. Grandparents are merciful, let the children do anything. You know, we as a neighbor, I'm talking about children that admire us as role models in the community. And then we take that and we cover it. Say, yeah, I look out for you. I get you gifts, take you places. Yeah, they're wrong. That's the wrong approach for us to do it. We have to be supportive of families. Say, look, your moms, your dad, they ask you, you know, to do more tasks. They want you studying more on this. They want you to do whatever it is that's positive for that family. We should cooperate with them. We should support them. That should be extended family. Because, you know, if we leave our children to their own devices, they'll create their own rules. You know, we have to be careful. Oh, excuse me. Yes. Yes, Brother Everett, those days might never come back. So true. That's the feeling. We all remember that. You was in Hempstead in the 70s, where we outside. I was over there on Elizabeth and Hudson, early 70s. The whole neighborhood was looking out for us. We were free. We were carefree. Those were like some of the best of days. We did, you know, we never drew the line, because there was someone looking out there a window to say, look, your parent is going to get you later, your aunt, and we would straighten right up. We would hear our name yell. We would run home, man, you know, and we would be, and they say, and our parent would tell us, this neighbor said you were doing such and so, you wouldn't do that for a week or so. You know, it was that extended family. It's awesome, and it's literally being attacked, extended family. We're trying to justify this. Do your own thing. Get your own focus on your career, and your family are torn apart. You know, and the child really shouldn't even be given toy weapons unless they're given, because they use those weapons on each other. You know, when you give a child a toy weapon, give them a target to aim at, a clear target. That's your target. You aim at the target. You don't aim at your family. Because later, those squabbles they have over those toys and candy, when they're grown up, it will be over cars and girlfriends. And that's a lot of violence goes unchecked like that. We let our children just go out and do too much unguided play. It's really not play. It's the game of death. And it's for real. Now, in regards to family looking out for each other, you know, we have to be the ones that set rules for them, and it's going to take us to, you know, looking towards ourselves. Back then, we didn't rely so much on outsiders. Like my brother commented, my brother Everett, he said, you know, the extended family, the aunt looking out for you, threatening. She would just have to threaten you. You know, we took care of ourselves, and we looked after ourselves. And really wasn't that much discipline needed. You didn't need that much. Now you look at that discipline, that's coupled with a lot of pain. All that pain we have, and it's repressed, and we don't face it. We don't get counseling for that and handle it. We get those abusive whippings. Those abusive whippings came from that repressed pain. And the incident that a child did may not necessarily have been so bad. It may not have been that bad. It may have been something simple, but because we're suffering from so much pain, repressed, we take it out on those closest to us. So you may have that belt, and you see the child getting the whipping. And I mean, black mothers, they literally had cadences to whippings. They would tell you all that, and you would hear that pain being expressed on your behind. Didn't I tell you? Not, you know, it's a cadence to it, and you would hear, what is the worst thing you could hear? How black and bad you were. You're black behind, but you won't do it again. You know, we get that. And if you didn't express the level of pain that your parent was experiencing, they would grab a bigger thing to hit you with, a bigger weapon. I went through that in life. You know, that's for real. So we have to direct it. We have to direct our energy. We have to redistribute the pain and direct our energy towards the enemy, because they have never looked out for us. This government has always been the instigators and fomenters of violence and confusion and division amongst us. It's clear. I mean, the last 60 years, I mean, you look at, look at COINTELPRO. That was a government program. They were undermining, dividing, and starting trouble in black organizations. The whole key was to keep us disunited, and they started fight. They literally forged paperwork. They literally wrote names on letterheads from organizations claiming that one organization head in Chicago, the Black Panthers, were going to assassinate the El Roken person, this other organization, the US organization. They literally forged documents from both of those organizations to pit them against each other. And most of that fell through. Most of that, the trick worked and had us fighting each other with guns. And now, look at the relationship with the police. We do not trust law enforcement. And the law, what is the purpose of law enforcement? The law is that, well, ideally, but we're not ideal citizens, are we? We know how we came here. We were kidnapped and brought here, and unlawful captives. That law is the people who can't get along, so that the law will bring us into agreement. And then a judge in a court of law will bring about justice, the judge between us, and a jury of our peers. But we know that's not the case with us. There's injustice towards us. We don't expect justice from them. This was the case with the OJ case. OJ, all the black, I was in Harlem. I was driving around Harlem in my work van. That was in the mid-90s. And I heard a celebration. All my windows was closed. I heard a celebration outside. And that was Harlem celebrating. OJ acquittal. All the black people cheered and exhaled. All the white people gasped out of disbelief that the justice system didn't work the way they expected it to. They always expect injustice to come to us and justice to come to them. It's been that way. And the government, and which is why we cannot, to curb the violence in our community, we cannot call on the police as armed social workers to come resolve our beefs. I literally have watched two blood family members call 911 on each other. We do that. You know, we expect them to come resolve our issues, and we go and put them on each other because someone have done us an injustice, which we hardly forgive each other for. We're very unforgiving towards ourselves. We hold them grudges, and it just chews us up. They have a saying that holding a grudge against someone is like drinking poison, expecting the other person to die. You know, it chews us up because it's in our brain. The undercurrent of racism, all this pain repressed. We abandon our youth. So they pull together. They ain't getting no love. They not being shown love. Like your brother Everett was commenting on that extended family. We don't show love to our youth. We mainly too focus on our careers. Some of us have hobbies and we're partying while our youth are abandoned. And somebody has an eye on them and says, I can capitalize off them. And they're building a prison industrial system, locking up black men, indigenous, Latino in this community, in this nation. That's a national truth. Now, we can't rely on the source of our pain to be the relief. That's us who have to do it. Now, excuse me a second. And if there's any questions you have, family, please feel free to chime in. Okay, see, I'm with you on that. I hear that. That's good. You know, that divide and conquer, it really worked on us. So the remedy for that is for us to heal ourselves. You know, it's the whole approach that our youth are abandoning, and the gangs are showing them love. You know, they going into the gang because they got appreciation. The gang is telling me, yeah, you all right, you with me, my brother. It's always someone that people admire. And most of the time, we as young black men, I experienced it myself in the 80s. We as young black men, we experience it's the brothers in so-called illicit behavior, illegal behavior that we admire. Those that was selling drugs, those was hanging out, those was in the street hustling. They paid more attention to us. Whoever, you know, what you love, you pay attention to. You know, and us relying on the legal system to provide justice for us when it's unfair. You know, I mean, look at the games they've been playing on us. If you look at, like, say, 3 of our young men are out in the park somewhere, and someone accused them of breaking the law. Something was knocked over, something missing, and the police round up those 3 young men, and they all, which is rare, they don't do because we don't educate our youth to do this, they all say, I want to speak to my lawyer. Most of them don't. Most of them start, you know, coming up, talking, or coming up with excuses to say where they are, or, you know, explain themselves right there. But most should say, I want to speak to my lawyer. And why? Because you're accusing me of breaking the law, so I would like to speak to a lawyer. If 3 men did that, they're taken down to the police precinct. This has been happening for over 60 years. The good cop, bad cop, them deceiving us. They would take these 3 young men down into the police precinct, put them in separate rooms, and if all of them continue saying, I want to see my lawyer, they will send a bad acting cop in amongst them, to literally torturing them, not letting them use the bathroom, not letting them use the phone to speak to anyone, you know, tormenting them. Then they come in with the good cop. Oh, you know, this one, I know the other cop, he was bad, you know, you could talk to me. And then if that don't work, they'll come in with, they will lie, and they're allowed to do this, to lie and deceive our youth. This has been going on too long. They will lie and say, you know, your partner said you were the mastermind. He was just a lookout. And the young man's, what? He did that? No, this and this I was doing. Then you start explaining yourself, and they will literally, if those youth, if one youth continues saying, I would like to speak to my lawyer, which is proper, they will sit up and manipulate statements, to have them sign statements that that have them guilty of breaking the law, of what they accuse them of. And now these 3 young men, innocent, they just haven't even seen their lawyer yet, have signed statements against each other. Then they get the 3 into one room again. Now they have the good cop in there. Well, you know, I'm gonna leave you, I'll be right back, I got to do some work. Now they sitting in a room alone, all 3 of them together, and they're being secretly recorded. This is police tricks they use against our youth who are miseducated, misunderstanding, and have known that they're going to discuss. They huddle together discussing what just happened. I told y'all not to say nothing. You said that, and you know, one says we must speak to our lawyer. So they huddle together discussing this, and the police are secretly videotaping them, and that further gets them in trouble. Now 2 of the young men may go to jail, the other one may be walking the street. That the 2 in jail, they will now create a beef with the other one and say, and look out on the street and label him a snitch. Say, yeah, he snitched us out, man. When in fact it was the police who deceived and lied to y'all. And the 2 in jail, they may even get into a beef with some, depending on his people. That's how things happen, you know. And now they at war with each other, and you lay that with weapons. There you have a lot of street violence. So we cannot rely on law enforcement to do the social work in our community. We have to heal these conflicts. We have to intervene. We have to be the mediators. Now, excuse me. Now, how we greet our neighbors, you know, to resolve that, it's literally the approach we have toward each other. We got to change the approach. We have to literally greet each other, meet our neighbors. Now, we in the black community, we are shuffled around a lot. Gentrification really uproots us and has us nomadic in this nation. They literally put us in projects. They literally call those tall apartment buildings projects. Initially, when they built them, they were projects to study us. And they stack us on top of each other. That's too close for comfort. Now, we're very adaptable people. Actually, we're very adaptable people, more so than others. And with us that close, us greeting each other is kind of cold. You know, we don't extend ourselves in greetings to be that extended family that we had. Back in the 70s, we literally had that. And all across America in the 70s, we literally had that extended family. Now we're greeting each other kind of cold, you know, and most of the time, most of our first encounters is conflict. We're in an apartment complex. People playing the music too loud. Since we didn't greet them, what's our first meeting with them encounter? Banging on the ceiling, banging on the wall, stomping on the floor, yelling. for a person to stop doing what they're doing, or calling the police, calling someone else to resolve our issues that we should resolve. We could do it preemptive by greeting each other more. And these conflicts escalate, get kind of cold, you know, and especially when our neighbors know our personal information and we gossiping and slack talk and doing backbiting. You know, that builds up in people. Now we got that repressed pain. We're walking around, you know, some violence encounters around us, and the people we thought was with us, our neighbors, is using our personal information against us. You know, we get caustic, we cut people off, we hold them grudges, we never speak to them again. And this has to be resolved by us. No one else can do it for us. That extended family is the key, and we must propose a restoration center. We need a restoration. Restoration is to our minds, to our souls. It was scarred during slavery. One of the first things they did was bust up the families. The first thing they did was separate them. To this day, they're still separating us. They're keeping us nomadic. If you spoke a certain language, divide and conquer. They put you on a separate plantation. If you were from a certain tribe, or if you had a certain religion, separated. They separate us to keep us weak and divided. Families, your family could be broken up instantly, depending on how the auction was going. They would quickly bust up family. They did it on purpose. It was designed to keep us weak because they know that family is the cornerstone of strength in a community. Strong families strengthen communities. So they're attacking the family. And we have to respond by building institutions that strengthen our families. I propose a Booker T. Washington Restoration Center. We need a smack dab in the middle of Hempstead. We have doctors, psychiatrists, positive motivational builders, and positive pastors. Because too many of our pastors, you know, you're not strong. You're kind of weak. You keep our people asleep. You know, we got the Holy Ghost and we limit it to church. We're too constrained. A lot of our faith, you know, is we're real weak in faith. We don't have confidence in ourselves. And this is why we don't build in our community with what we got. We got to walk with the Holy Ghost. I walk with him. I walk with the Holy Ghost. And it goes with me. I just don't constrain it to a building given to us under white supremacy, owned by somebody else. We have to do for ourselves and commit to ourselves. We need our heritage taught. We got a great heritage. We need to be taught what's at the root of violence. Who's fomenting violence in the community? Did you know that the Bloods and the Crips formed on the West Coast in the 70s? And these youth organizations, so-called gangs, as they spread towards the East Coast, they appeared in each city at the same exact time. That's no accident. Coming across the country like that, and they reached New York in the 80s. And there was always one so-called gang outnumbering others. The Bloods, I believe, have that manual with a lot of rituals they have to go to get in, making it harder to get into with less numbers. So naturally, the other ones would have more numbers. They foment these divisions. This was started in Chicago. The FBI did this. This is on me, COINTELPRO. This is in documents. They said we must divide them. We must prevent the rise of a black messiah that will unite black America. That was the government's worst nightmare, of a black messiah, bringing black people together in unity. That was their worst nightmare. United Black Front. Everyone else can be united except for black. That was targeted at us. So we have to unite ourselves, and we got to overcome our pain. And how do we overcome our pain? We need to restore ourselves. We need an institution where we can sit down and discuss it. And it cannot come from the government. They will not subsidize their worst nightmare. The awakening comes from us. Matter of fact, what comedian George Carlin said, they call it the American dream because you got to be asleep in order to believe it. This is why our local politicians and misleaders and so-called religious leaders, they sell us the dream. They sell us dreams to keep us asleep. We have to dig deep into ourselves and restore ourselves. We need our professionals. We need our those the wealth in our community. You know, we're very selfish, individualistic. We all want personal wealth, personal goals, while those around us are suffering. You know, a lot of the violence comes from envy too. We do acts. People sabotage other people's cars, key to cars and stuff. That's violence. That's how they envy and jealousy. We don't want to see one advance further than us. We block and hinder those. You know, that's a form of violence. The worst violence is mental. The worst prison to be in is a mental prison, said the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. The physical change, you see what's going on, but the mental one, you're not aware. You're mentally, spiritually asleep, and we need that awakening. And we have to do that by building our institutions. I propose that we do that. At Booker T. Washington Restoration Center. So we can restore our minds first. Everybody's crying about jobs. I need a job. Some of y'all jobs in these positions make y'all worse. Some of it amplifies our problems. We're suffering from a social pathology. You know? And sometimes we get a little bit of power or position and it makes us worse. Sometimes a cash bonanza, hitting the lotto makes people's lives worse. We need training, discipline. We need restoration. That's what I propose for us. And mainly that's a sacrificing. Some, I don't know, is there any other questions here? I'd love to answer any of your questions. Crab in the barrel mentality, that's for sure. That's been taught to us, brother. Brother, am I saying your name right? Craig Smith. Crab in the barrel, that's correct, my brother. He said, yes, sir, that's right. That's the Willie Lynch syndrome. That was, now they have a debate over whether Willie Lynch existed, but we know the principles are there. Those principles are deep. The differences between us are used against us. That's right in the COINTELPRO document. Go read it. They find a difference in you, something that could press your button. They went and wrote documents. They did that to Dr. King. Dr. King is considered one of the greatest Americans, even by Caucasian Americans. The government, they killed him. They literally set him up, and the agents around him, they positioned him. They created that hate against him. They asked him to commit suicide. Do you know that the FBI directly, or well, you could say directly, indirectly, Malcolm X recorded them coming into his home. They indirectly, you know, threatened his life. They said, you know, Malcolm, we can eliminate people. They told Malcolm X this straight up. We can eliminate people. Told him that in his house. He was secretly recording them. They were outright. And they put that teaching in us, and they give a few of us favors and blessings so that the rest of us, you know, we vie for it, elbow each other out the way. And that's right, crabs in the barrel. Yes, that's how it happens. And we have to avert that. How do we do it? We have to, excuse me. We have to bring awareness to it. We got to sacrifice something in our career. We got to sacrifice some hobbies. And we got to sacrifice this partying for our youth to invest in them. They feel abandoned. They go looking, you know, they go look for adoration. You know, we don't feel adored by them. They have a saying, if you want to be adored, become adorable. You know, we have to focus on them. We have to teach them. We have to redirect all of the pain in our community towards the enemy. We have to boycott. We got to get involved. We have to be preemptive in our youth. That's why they have them beefs, because they teamed up together with their crew that's showing love to them. It may be a method to their madness. It may be a misguided love, but it's nonetheless love. It's attention. You know, the little girl, you're not paying attention to your daughter. A pimp is. A pimp, they go meet her. The girl's running, you throwing down too hard. If you don't have that extended family, you put all these rules on your daughters, they run away from home. 13-year-old girl, there's somebody waiting for them at the bus stop or up the block. And they doing it online now with them, making it easier for them. That's sex trafficking is growing at a higher rate than usual, because it's a lot more easier to do now. Everybody's online doing it. So we have to refocus our energy towards our youth. For those that feel neglected, you feel neglected and abandoned, no one's covering your pain. No one asks that. You know, asks us what our problems is. No one invests in us. So it's negative people there doing it. I mean, that's what we do in the beauty salons and the barbershops. We do too much gossip and slack talk about each other. We in there hollering out our pain. You know, we see someone that reminds us of the bad things in ourselves, we project it out. We talk about them. Too much slack talk and gossip about people. That turns people off. People don't want to be in that negative environment. That's why it should be impossible and impractical with a market remaining the same, a current people for a salon, a barbershop, a funeral parlor, a laundromat, a Dunkin' Donuts, and a 7-Eleven to go out of business. If they have that same market, the only thing that would turn those 6 type of businesses out, close them down, is if mismanagement. You know, people don't feel good going in there. That's the only thing would do that. You know, so we have to change how we're doing things. We have to redistribute the pain. We have to face ourselves. We got to face our pain. You have to embrace your pain. You can't overcome something we don't embrace. You know, we keep these family secrets. We keep this repressed. It tears us apart. Can't even sleep at night, some of us. You know, we do bad to others, undermine others, and we try to justify it because of the bad that someone have done to us. And we strike out at those who are closest to us and look like us. But we got to start supporting our families and those that are doing violent acts, that especially with the gunplay, you know, it's a cry for help. Whenever someone is abandoned and they start doing acts that gather a lot of attention, you know, it's a desperate cry for help. Our youth are dying under gun violence in the street. We mourn, we go to the funeral, and we ask the question, why? Why? Because we haven't approached it right. We've been misled and misguided, and it's been intentional. We need to change leadership of how we look at it. We have to reach out to our youth. We have to greet each other differently. It has to be institutionalized. You know, and we have to start with our youth, because many of us who feel, you know, we're too hurt or we won't come up, I can understand that. You know, you're elder, you went through life, you're retired, you're tired and fed up. You got to dig deep into yourself. But we more can understand if you're up in that age. But our youth and our young coming up, 30s and 40s, you must invest in our youth. We got to go towards our youth. We have to shape them and grasp them to build a future for them. We have a future for ourselves, because others are doing it and they're taking advantage of us. And they're being supported by a secret government that hijacked this government at the turn of the century. And one of the first things they did was it went after us. We had freed ourselves from, not freed ourselves, but we were emancipated by Caucasians. Because freedom is you take that yourself. Emancipation, someone else does it to you. You are given a distance, you're giving a semi-freedom, but you're not without a grasp, hands reach. We built those all-black towns. In the South, from Los Angeles to Rosewood, Florida. Go watch the movie Rosewood. Go watch the documentary Black Wall Street. Look what they did to us. One of the first things that secret government did, they look at these black people. They freed themselves. Where are we going to get this cheap labor from? Look, their competition. They saw us as a threat. We don't see each other as a threat. We compete with each other, but not back then, to where we would go and raise another black town. We didn't invade other black towns, destroying what they had. But this secret government, they formed the Ku Klux Klan, they formed the FBI, they formed the ADL, they formed the Federal Reserve. And that secret government, their soldiers, it was a pogrom. They destroyed us, ran us back into sharecropping. And that has never been atoned for. That's simmering in it. That's the undercurrent in them. That have never been brought into law international court. I say, look at the injustice did. Reparations done for that. For all these hundreds of years, that's still in them. Look how it manifested the presidency of Trump. His acidness, his divisiveness, his cold, toxic ways, like a caveman in office right now. And he's speaking into that cave mentality. It's us versus them, that fear. Let's strike them before they get us. That's xenophobia, fear of strangers, xenophobia. I'm pronouncing that wrong. But the fear of strangers, that's Caucasoid, where you're attacking people and killing them as threats to you who haven't even done anything to you. But you can attack them and demonize them just out of the fear that they will do something to you. That's European, that's Caucasian. And we adopt that, some of us. So after they destroyed them towns, we went back in sharecropping. Now we're back out, and after we came out from sharecropping into the communities, we were looking out after our youth. We didn't have all this violence. The young brothers that joined into gangs, the most harm they did was with knives. It was with bats, and it was, you know, it was some, but it wasn't to the degree that it was. Because isn't this, we have a higher level of disunity and individualism. You know, back then we had that extended family that protected us for that. And my brother is right. We must bring that back. Okay, let me look at the last comments here. Any question? Barbershop talk has been around for a minute. Yeah, that's right, my brother. And you are so right. As Brother Everett said that barbershop talk has been around for a minute. Brother Ralph says you are so right. We need to begin teaching them at home again. So true, my brothers. That sums it up. That's what we must do. And we have to do it institutionally. We need an institution of restoration. And we got to fortify in the homes to build our homes. You know, strong homes, strong families, extended family, getting to know each other. It's a change in spirit, how we approach each other, humble ourselves. And the key to it all is once we face our pain, once we overcome it, once we grasp our pain and we master it, is we must forgive. That's very difficult. It's very difficult to forgive, but that's the key. Forgiveness. We got to have faith that God will get us through this and heal us. And in that healing, forgive. And it'll be further healing for us. It heals your own heart. I don't care what others have done to us or said to us. If we forgive them, it gives us a peaceful state of mind. That's a more heavenly abode. Faith and belief, and you forgive and you live under the principles of seeing the divine in each other, we'll be a better place. We'll be a better community. Now, that's my conclusion of what I had to say. I don't see any more questions. I appreciate your comments. Everett, Craig, Brother Ralph, and any other who made the comments. I truly appreciate you, and I look forward to speaking to you next week. Next week will be week 7. I'll announce the subject. And if you have, please support my campaign. Give me a contribution. I'll put the information in the comment section after I upload this video. I will put some sources of the links of that I quoted from the COINTELPRO. I have those notes in the comments too. And I look forward to seeing you next week, family, and may Allah bless us and our families. Peace and blessing.